Hi, this is Barbie and welcome to my channel. Today's layout is a coast-to-coast collaboration using the Story by Stacy cards. There are 4 themes: Ready, Set, Go, and Bonus. So I have pulled some papers out that I think will work well for my layout. I have the April through June pattern papers. They're the mixed-ins. And I have the coordinating cardstocks. I've also pulled in a piece of Melon cardstock that I think will work really well with this layout. So one of the things I need to cover is new products. This could be something that's never been used. It could be new to me, could be fresh from the package. So my papers cover that, as well as this stamp set called Bouquet. I'm also pulling in this set of ribbons. Now these are not new. This is a retired item, but the package has never been opened, so it's still considered new products. Next up is special days. Now this can be a birthday, a wedding, anniversary, milestone. I'm going to use a picture from our 25th anniversary to cover my special days. Another item we need to cover this month is repurposing. Now this can be a found item, a ribbon, a sticker, memorabilia, everyday items. So I've pulled in this piece of lace and these beads. Not sure I'm going to use the beads. I've also pulled in some silk leaves from some roses I used to make something. So I think that covers my repurposing rather well. We'll have to see what I end up using. Another thing we need to do is inspiration this month. Now this could be from social media, from painting, a scrapbook page, a magazine. I've chosen to use our how-to book, Apr-Jun, and I'm pulling from page 68 and 69, which is a layout called Classical Look. Now they always give you a colored example. I'm going to be making that left-hand page. And then on the right-hand side, it shows you the monochromatic look of your layouts, as well as the dimensions of all your pieces and the instructions. These how-to books can be so much help to you. So let's get on to those papers. Which ones do I want to use for my layout? I've decided on that papaya floral and the pine words with the melon cardstock. And I'm thinking about using that pine, but no, I think I'll use that mink cardstock instead. I think that might go a little better. So let's get on to the cutting. One of the things you want to start with is cutting those zip strips off. I'm not going to be using them today, but I will set those aside for a future project. I need a 7 by 6 piece of this papaya floral. So I'm going to cut that, and then I will cut a piece that is 1 by 12 that's going to be going across the page. Next up is that pine, and I want my words to flow across the page, so that's going to be on my 12-inch dimension. And so after cutting that zip strip off, I will cut a 4-inch strip for my words. Now my photo is a 4 by 6, so I'm going to cut a 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 because I like to have an 1/8 inch mat around my photo the majority of the time. Some people like a 1/4 inch, some people like 1/2 inch, whatever your preference is. I will sometimes even do a double mat of 2 1/8 inch ones. So now I'm just going to play with those papers and how I want to position them. Do I want my photo at an angle? Do I want it straight? I'm hesitating as I play with that lace and the ribbon. I'm thinking about that cardstock and if I really want that mink cardstock. And we'll decide on that in a minute. So let's go ahead and pull in the mink pattern paper and try that. I think that's a little bit softer look. The cardstock was just a little darker and harsher than I wanted, and I want more of a soft, delicate, vintage look. So let's go ahead and cut that zip strip off, and then we'll cut a piece of it that is 6 by 7 as well, and another piece that is 1 by 12, just like we did with that papaya floral. And then we're almost done. So I'm going to pull in a piece of the white daisy to build my layout on. I don't like to use pattern papers to build it on. Why have all that waste? So I'm just going to go ahead and play with where I want that photo now. Do I want it in just the right-hand side? Do I want it centered, off-centered? And I'm playing with that lace and the ribbon again. I'm still undecided where I want to have it. Do I want it across the top of the mink pattern, or do I want it at the bottom of that papaya floral? While I'm deciding on that, I'm going to go ahead and pull in a sponge and cut it into fourths so that I can do a bit of edge distressing with the mink ink and the peach ink. Now, I'm going to start with the mink first on those 2 mink pattern pieces. And you won't be able to see too well on camera how it just helps it pop. But in person, you can see it. And then when I'm all done, I'll bring it up a little closer for you to see. It just helps give more of a soft, distressed, vintage look. And I think it just helps really finish it. Now, I'm using the peach ink, even though my papers are Melon Cardstock and Papaya Floral. And the reason being is I wanted a little softer look than what the melon and the papaya would have given me. I'm just trying to keep this all kind of soft, romantic, to go with our 25th anniversary. I did not edge distress that piece of pine. It's dark, and so I didn't think it really needed it. And I was afraid that if I did it, it would take away from the softness that I was trying to achieve here. So we'll attach that piece of papaya floral to the top left, and then the mink pattern to the top right. And you'll see that little bit of ink got on there, but I'm going to position it so that when I put my photo on, it will cover it up and no one will ever know. I apologize quite often throughout this video. My head gets in the way. I'm still playing with my camera setup and I am rather new to this, so just please bear with me. So I'm going to attach that piece of pine words, and you want to make sure your words are straight up. Don't put them upside down. And now I'm doing that piece of mink pattern paper across the bottom. And I'm really glad that I switched things up from the mink cardstock. Now I'm going to take this other piece of papaya floral and put it across the center of, those pine words. Just to create like a little banner there. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my photo on my mat. Another thing you could always do is use some 3D tape and pop that photo up off of the mat to create a little more dimension, or even pop your photo mat up off the page. But I'm going to go ahead and adhere it flat to the page. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull my stamped images that I've already fussy cut in and show you how I'm going to color those with our water brush and our inks. Now I've picked up a little bit of ink into the lid and then dropped some water on there, and then I'm just going to pick that up, and on this medium-sized flower I'm using the peach ink, and I'll go ahead and show that to you. And I'm going to use the papaya and melon also. The melon is used on that biggest flower and the papaya on those little buds. There's 4 of them. I'm also going to end up pulling in the pine to do the stems, and that honey butter that's over there on the left, I pulled that in to do on the center of my flowers. Now, instead of using those silk leaves, I decided that the color just really didn't go with the pine words. So I went ahead and used the pine cardstock to cut my leaves using the layered flowers thin cuts. I've also gone ahead and glued that ribbon onto my lace, and I stamped always on the light side of the melon cardstock with the melon ink, as well as in my heart, and edge distressed it. So let's go ahead and just play with where these flowers are going to go. I have gone ahead and put some 3D tape on the back side of some of those flowers so that I get some dimension, and it makes it easy for tucking the stems in behind them. That last stem I put on, you'll notice there was only 2 leaves on it. I cut the rest off for my cluster in the top right-hand corner. And again, some of those flowers do have 3D tape on them to pop them up from the page. And you can see there's one of the leaves I cut off, and I'm trying to decide where I want to put that flower. And I'm going to go ahead and tuck one more of the leaves I cut off, and then that stem. So now we can go ahead and start adhering things. So I'm going to use some Scotch tape to wrap my lace and ribbon around to the back side before I start gluing it across the page. That way it'll keep it nice and secure. So let's go ahead and take some liquid glue and put that across that edge there of the top edge of the mink. And then we can go ahead and press that in place. This glue does attach rather quickly. It doesn't take too long for me to just hold it in place, and it will adhere. I got a little bit of excess in that one spot, so I'm just going to use part of a Post-it and my finger to wipe it off. And then I can wrap that left-hand edge behind the page and adhere it with a piece of Scotch tape too. I go ahead and try to cut that last little bit off with my scissors, but once they're used for paper, they don't cut fabric too well. So I can always cut that off there. So let's start with what we know. I know that banner is going to be centered in that lower green section. So I'm going to put it on first. Always I have some 3D tape on it, and I know I want it centered on that papaya floral. So that's going to go on next, because that's going to help me decide where I position my photo. And that's going to be the next thing that we are going to adhere. It's always much easier if you just always do what you know first. Now I'm going to do this about a 1/2 inch down on the pine and about 3/4 of an inch onto the papaya floral. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this big cluster from the Bouquet stamp set and take some of the 3D cover pieces off so that I can go ahead and put that down. I'm going to start with that one first because that's the biggest one, and that's going to decide where everything else goes. I'm just going to use a little bit of liquid glue on the back of these leaves. I'm really glad I went ahead and switched from the silk ones to these paper ones because the color really does match much better. Next, this little flower I'm going to put down here next to the ribbon just so it's overlapping it slightly, and take this little black sprig for some contrast, and then the 2-stem leaf. You'll notice there's only 2 stems because I cut the others off for my upper cluster. And so I'm just going to trim that a little bit and tuck that behind there. And then let's go ahead and put this other flower on. And you want to make sure that the center of the flower is going upwards. And then put this other little black sprig. I think these are really cute for contrast. And lastly, this last little leaf cluster. I really have fun playing with these layered flowers, thin cuts. It's got all kinds of flowers in it, and then this great stem. Now let's go ahead and build that top cluster. And I do that first flower with a piece of 3D tape and then glue on this stem going downwards, and it's going to slightly overlap the cardstock photo mat. And then we'll go ahead and put some more flowers on. And that last flower that I'm going to put on is going to be popped up with 3D tape as well, so that it can overlap that big flower. And then we'll start with our little black sprig and tuck it behind. I think this is really turning out cute. I'm very happy with it. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I would really appreciate your input as to what you think of it. And we'll overlap the photo a little bit with that last leaf. So I think this turned out really good for our 25th anniversary, and I was able to cover all the things really well. Special days, our anniversary, inspiration was the book, the how-to book, Imagine, on page 68 and 69, the classical. This can always help you if you're having a spot where you just can't think. New products was my papers, my stamps, that ribbon, and repurposing was my lace. So I hope you enjoyed this. These are the stamp sets I used, Dreammaker and Bouquet, and another close-up of the finished product. Here are some different ways that you can keep up on what I'm doing. Check out my Facebook page, my YouTube channel. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.